just like last time, I have no idea what number interview this one is. But hello, and welcome. I am joined by the very gorgeous, let's see if I can get my finger in the shot, Beckie Coupe from Infinity.
Hello.
Hello, it's lovely to have you, Mrs. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's lovely to be here. I've been popping in and out during the day and watching as much as I can, so it's a bit strange now to be on the other side. I've been merrily watching away, and now I'm in the hot seat.
You're a bit nervous.
Yeah. I'm not normally. I think it's been great during the day and kind of listening to everyone. So and I don't know what you're going to ask me.
Has there been any standouts for you through the day that you've enjoyed watching?
I've just been watching you live with Amy, and I mean, her story is just so inspiring, and I can relate to a lot of it with stuff that I've been through recently. So yeah, that one kind of really struck a chord with me, and just the strength that she's got, and determination. She's a very inspirational lady.
But I think we could say exactly the same about you, because I think that most people, whether you know Little Miss Social Media or not, won't know. Most people won't know that you've been harbouring a bit of a back injury recently.
Yeah.
Carrying on and doing your stuff whilst in pain, whilst not being able to sit at your desk. So I think that you are, in that same bracket there, Mrs.
You don't put yourself in the same, though, do you? It's strange, but yeah, listening to Amy, I could definitely relate to it and kind of, I suppose, give myself a bit more credit as well for continuing through pain and, still doing what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up to you, girl. Be proud of yourself. So we've got lots of people joining us. Come on into the comments, say hi, let us know that you're around. It would be great to see who's about. We've got Vicky Nicholson on, who's been a guest earlier. We have got Anne-Marie on, and we've got Michelle on. Gosh, that was a quick change, Emma. Yes, it was time. I was trying to do 2, right? This is what I was trying to do. I was trying to do 2 interviews per top, right? I've still got the same leggings on, but we won't tell anyone that I'm wearing leggings, all right? But 2 interviews per top, and it went into 3 last time because my turnover was too quickly. And I did say when I was on with Amy that I needed a little bit more face on for this next, the next 3 that we've got, the final 3 that we've got today. So yes, I'm changed and I'm here. Emma says, hi ladies, I'm watching while stripping wallpaper. I'm glad the wallpaper bit was on the end there, because I just got I'm watching while stripping. Might be quite relevant for one of your businesses, Emma Pollard. Trudy says, hi, ladies. Hi, Trude. How are you? So, you are a bit of an expert.
You could say that.
Yeah, you could say that.
If you want to use that word. But that's a whole other issue.
Well, I think we do use that word. That's a word that we can use.
Yeah,
I know that you don't like guru.
No, guru is icky. And then everyone's a social media guru, and
where did this come from? Because didn't you make cakes at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey?
At one point, dabbled in that. It's a long story, really. Don't know how far back you want me to go. But
you're not that old. It can't be that far back.
It's a good 10 years. So, yeah, I mean, I started out basically when I finished my A-levels. I kind of had no idea whatsoever what I wanted to do. I'd always been really academic, but how, what do you actually put that to when it goes out, to a real job? So I had no idea. So I applied to university, got in, but I decided to have a gap year to try and figure out what it was. And I kind of had this inkling that I'm, might be interested in business. And I just kind of said, I'll just try and get a job in an office. And that was as vague as it was. And I ended up in a small business. There was about 5 of us working there at the time, so it was small. But it was one of those businesses where it was entrepreneurial. You've kind of got businesses and then you've got entrepreneurs who are pushing and always trying to do the next thing. And I started off just, doing admin and stuff like that. And then I got involved with the marketing. And this was 2007. So to put it into context, Facebook and Twitter both kind of opened to public use in 2006. So it was less than a year kind of after they'd been open to the public. So hardly any businesses were using them. And we just kind of said, why don't we set up a Twitter account and see what could come of it? Could we maybe use this to talk to people we don't know? And there was no kind of, stuff to read up on about it, or books to read, or, set practice to follow. There was nothing. So it was all kind of just testing things out and seeing what worked and what didn't, and was this worth spending time on? So I was really fortunate to get involved with social media from basically day one, and to be in that kind of environment where I was allowed to test things out and just experiment with it and see what happened. So I was there for a few years, and then I moved into PR. I think my job title was something like PR and social media executive. So I was doing both. So I was doing like the traditional PR, but the social media fell on me as well because I'd done that in the past. So that gave me more experience of working with different businesses and in a B2B setting as well, and using social media in that way. And then kind of leading up, in the meantime, so the cupcakes coming then. So I'd kind of over those kind of 5 or 6 years started to feel like, I'd quite like to have a business of my own one day, where it was like a distant, I don't know what it'd be, or what. So whilst I was at university, and I was still working all that time as well in the same job in marketing, I just kind of got into making jewellery, really random, just as a bit of a hobby. And then I thought I could sell this. So just like set up a Facebook page, sold it to friends and family, really. I did kind of jewellery parties and yeah. And then, so that was just whilst I was a student. And then whilst I was working in PR, then I kind of got chatting with a friend. We're both big foodies, and we decided to set up a catering business. So we catered for birthday parties, and I sold cupcakes, and we did kind of Christmas fairs and stuff like that. Again, really random, but it was kind of good fun, and I learned a lot about business from doing it. So I was just doing that kind of part-time, evenings, weekends, with no view whatsoever to giving up my full-time job and trying to be self-employed, full-time self-employed. That was not even kind of a thought. I thought maybe one day, but yeah, it wasn't really on my radar. And then I got ill, and I was off work sick. I was in and out of hospital, various admissions. Nobody knew what was wrong with me. So I kind of had no idea when I'd be able to go back to work, and I'd try and go back, and then I wouldn't be well enough, and I'd have to come home, and then I'd be off sick again. And because I didn't have a diagnosis, no one, like the doctors couldn't say, well, you'll be back in 3 months. And that drove me crazy because I like to be busy, and I can't stand being on the sofa poorly. We know. Not able to do stuff. It just drove me bad, and I kind of thought, well, I'm well enough in myself. I've still got something to give. There's nothing wrong with my brain. I can work. I just couldn't stand the thought of kind of being on long-term sick, and of course issues with money and being on sick pay and stuff like that. So I remember being sat in a hospital bed on one of the occasions when I was admitted and on a drip, and I just thought, I wonder if I could do what I do but for myself. And so I just sent emails round basically to everybody that I'd worked for, colleagues that I had worked with, just kind of put feelers out and said, look, this is what's going on. Do you have any work for me, basically? I was just, cheeky. Or do you know anybody that could benefit from me helping them? And I managed to kind of get together enough work that I could hand in my notice and think, right, I can do this kind of freelance marketing type thing. And that will allow me to rest on the days that I need to rest, or to have a couple of days off to go to the hospital, test or whatever, attend appointments, but I can still work, and that was really important to me. So I started off, I think I just called it our Coupe marketing or something really crap like that. And I cobbled together a website when I got home, like overnight on Wix, I think it was, and just to have something. And so January 2014, I started, and then it was a few months later where I kind of came up with the Infinity brand and started to pull it together a little bit more into, an actual business, as it were. So that first year I was just completely winging it, because I'd not planned to start a business. I'd not planned to go self-employed. I had no fallback, no idea what I was doing or, where I wanted to go. It was just, well, I may as well do this. I kind of had nothing to lose. So although I'd always wanted to do it, I think it was that kind of, my hand was forced on it. And for me, that was better than, not working. So I just ran with it. And here we are. And things have changed massively from 2014.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when it comes to social media, obviously you were part of the very early adopting social media for business kind of movement. And how have you seen social media change from a business owner's perspective?
It's changed massively, and in some ways not changed at all. So I think when it comes down to it, the crux of it is still the same. It's still about connecting with people. And the reason why we kind of jumped on board in those early days was because we saw straight away that, hang on a minute, this is like a free way, other than our investment of time, of reaching people and getting out there. And at that time, every other form of marketing involved some kind of cost. If you wanted to send an email out, you were paying MailChimp for credits, and you were paying a designer to put the design together. And, your websites cost a lot of money, and everything seemed to be a lot more kind of expensive. So social media opening up that kind of door to communicate with people for nothing was just a massive opportunity. And I think that's still the same today. And that's the reason it's So, we forget that it's kind of a gift. I was thinking about this today because I see so much in certain Facebook groups and things of a particular minute around Instagram, and people moaning. I'm only getting, these people with big Instagram accounts moaning that they're only reaching 10,000 people organically, and they've got 1 million followers, or whatever the figures are. And I think this is a free way for you to reach people. That's organic. That's an amazing thing. Even if you're reaching 200 people organically, and there are people that are interested in your business, that's something that you just couldn't do 10, 11 years ago. So I think that kind of side of things we need to remember, and that's still the same, that social aspect of it. I think if anything, it's kind of got harder. It was difficult when it was a complete unknown and nobody knew, what strategies worked, and you were kind of in a way waiting for people to catch on and come on there, so that then you had more people to talk to. So there was that challenge. But now there's so much noise. Everybody knows, even if it's just a sense of I need to use social media. It's in everybody's mind. There's so much more competition. So I think that makes it harder. And now we've got algorithms to contend with, which we didn't have back then because they didn't need them, because there wasn't that noise. And now platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they've got to filter it out somehow to keep people engaged. So you've got all that to contend with. So it's become more complex as the years have gone on. It's a lot different, but different challenges, but the kind of the core of it's the same.
Yeah. And you obviously work with a lot of different business owners. Do you see massive differences in the way that people are approaching their social media, dependent upon the person, dependent upon the sector, dependent upon their goals, or do you see people just going, I just want?
I think there is kind of a lot of common threads when you look at where people begin. So whether that's the platform that they go on, because what people do is look around at what other people are doing, and particularly they'll look at, you know, people that they look up to, what are they doing, and they'll think about where are they comfortable, which was not kind of in the equation, you know, years back, because we weren't using it anyway, kind of personally, or only just. Whereas now you might think, well, I know Facebook, I'm comfortable with Facebook, it seems like the right place to start. So often that's how people make that decision. And then I do see kind of a bit of variety. It depends on people's starting points and their experience in business, you know, and what they're used to, you know, what they've come into contact with, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was a bit of a roundabout answer, but I guess it did vary a lot.
Yeah, and I think that, I suppose, one big thing that I would say that lots of people probably don't consider very much is, what is the purpose of what they're doing? Because it's kind of, well, you've got to be on Twitter, you've got to be on Facebook, you've got to be on Instagram, you've got to be here, you've got to be there. And they're not kind of considering the purpose behind that. Do you find that a lot?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. I mean, less so now, but that's because of the type of clients that I focus on, who are the ones that they might not be clear on the purpose, but they know that they do need to figure out what they want to achieve from social media, even if they don't know what that is yet. And that's what I help them with. But when I was working with more kind of local, small, medium-sized businesses, a lot of the time they'd say to me, you know we need to be on social media, but we don't want to do it. We just need a presence. So they weren't that bothered about what actually was going on, but at the same time they wanted to see something back from it. It was all a bit, which is why I don't kind of work in that arena anymore. I work with entrepreneurs who, like I say, they know the value and they know it could benefit the business, but I often help them to figure out what that purpose could be and where it fits in, rather than just this, well, we just need to be seen on social media, we just need to put something out there, and it doesn't have much purpose at all to it.
I suppose it's that kind of, even if they don't understand what their purpose behind it is, they've got an energetic investment in it, rather than just going, we need to be on there, just sort it out.
So that's what's really important to me. And kind of as my business evolved, I started working with you, I started realizing how important that was, that I worked with that kind of business person that was invested in it and wanted to make it work. Whether, you know, they then wanted me to manage it for them, or whether they want me to help them to do it themselves, that doesn't matter. But they are invested in actually making it work and getting something tangible from it. So yeah, that's really important.
So when you are looking at, you know, the social media landscape, how do you keep up to date with all of these platforms and what's going on? Like, how do you even start doing that?
It's kind of, I don't even know how to explain it. So I just kind of have to keep my eye on lots of different places. So I'll read a lot of kind of industry blogs, take part in Twitter chats to see what other people in the industry are talking about, and be in Facebook groups so that I can kind of know whether there's a certain issue that's affecting a lot of people. So if everybody's moaning about one thing, that kind of gives me an early clue to, right, I need to look into why that's happening. And then a lot of it comes from actually being on the ground and working with social media day in, day out. You know, I'm looking at data from people's social media accounts and actually managing them, and looking at what strategies are working, and looking at how things are changing over time, and actually being hands-on. And that's as important to me, to keep on top of the whole social media thing, as reading about what other people are saying is going on, if that makes sense, because we get a certain amount of information from the platforms themselves. So if Facebook do a major algorithm change, they will put a press release out and tell us. But if they're tweaking little things or testing new features, they don't tend to say. So it's often kind of what you spot actually going on. So you have to kind of do that little bit of investigation. If you just waited until they told you something official, I think you'd be like kind of a step behind. So it's kind of a combination of the two.
Yeah, I think you need my Holmes surname to go and do detective work.
Put my Sherlock hat on. Definitely.
So Trudy's saying reach is an issue for lots of Facebook pages these last few weeks. Yeah, we've been finding that, haven't we? Yeah, well, we've just had a conversation about it, and it seems to be picking back up since yesterday. It's a ride it out. It's to see what happens. As long as you continue to get good engagement, as long as you're pleasing your audience, would you say that that's kind of what we've got to keep our eye on? Absolutely, yeah. So, you need to be aware of the reach and what's going on. And it's good to ask the question of, somebody who's in the industry, do you know what's going on, or why have things changed? It's good to be asking those questions, but it's also not a reason to panic or to suddenly kind of have a knee-jerk reaction and change your entire strategy because reach has dropped for a few days, unless there's been something like an announcement by Facebook, this is happening. They tend to say as well, this is how you can expect it to affect your page. Yeah. But without that information, it's those knee-jerk actions that's to avoid. But absolutely, it's the engagement's the important thing. And and I'm sure you won't mind me kind of sharing that we've been well aware the past couple of weeks of reach dropping organically. But when I've looked through your stats today, for the past month, engagement's gone up through the roof. We're seeing engagement go up month on month on month, and that's the important thing. So even though less people might be seeing it, people are engaging, and so perhaps you're reaching more of the right people, which is better. So yeah, I think engagement tells you a lot more than just that reach number. We found that it's on pages over the 10,000 mark as well, haven't we? The smaller pages aren't affected. Yeah. I've not seen this kind of drastic. In fact, not kind of seen anything on the smaller pages. It's been the kind of 10,000 up that has seen a really marked difference in reach. And it can be sometimes that it just settles down, can't it? This is what you've got for forever. It can sometimes re-level itself. Like I was saying to you earlier, like you never know whether Facebook's just testing an algorithm change or something like that on a certain amount of pages that are over a certain or within a certain bracket of likes. You just don't know. They don't, that's the point. It's they've got to test it at some point. So you just don't know. But yeah, that's my theory anyway, that might have been what's been going on over the last couple of weeks, but that is kind of speculation. I think the big thing is, like you say, you don't have to go off and suddenly change your strategy. I know that last time this happened, lots of people started going, well, you should only be posting once a week. Yeah, I remember that very well. Yeah, it's those knee-jerk responses, and then it only takes kind of one person with a big Facebook page or one person that's an expert or a social media guru to say, well, do this, and then everybody follows suit, and then the more and more you hear it, like the thing before that was you should only ever post if it's got a photo attached or a video. A couple of years ago, that was what everybody said, and actually that was not the case. So it's really important to actually test out what works on your page. That's the only way you can be sure, and kind of take with a pinch of salt anything you hear where people try and say hard and fast rules, because actually with the example of you should only be posting once a week, when I looked into it, I found a video from a speech somebody high up in Facebook had done themselves saying, actually, it's important that you're posting frequently,
more than once a day. And, you know, as long as the content's good quality, then you should be posting it out there once a week's not enough. And it was the complete opposite to what people had heard. So it's really important to kind of take it with a pinch of salt and then test it out for yourself and see what works on your page, and don't make major changes all in one go.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that, you know, no matter what anybody else says, at the end of the day, you've got to keep with why you do what you do. And I know that when all of this was going on, about, you know, posting less, we had this conversation and I said, actually, I'm not comfortable with that because that doesn't serve my audience.
Yeah.
Because they then don't get that help and support from me. That, you know, I would rather reach 5 people and help them today than not post.
Yeah, absolutely. And there has to be kind of an element of, I suppose, trusting that the right people will see it at the right time. You know, there will be stuff that passes them by, but, so, you know, people can search out your content as well. So, you know, sometimes I will be drawn to go on a specific Facebook page because it's not come up in my feed and think I need to hear from that person. And if they've not posted for a week, then, you know, I'd be disappointed. So, yeah, I'd be led first and foremost by what you feel that your crowd need from you, and worry about algorithms and reach and all that secondary.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that I've put the link to the blog that we did about the behind the scenes and the evolution of like the social media strategy and the things that we've worked with for about a year now. We worked together for about a year now.
Yeah. I think this month might even be a little anniversary.
Oh, we're going to can we have a cake? Will you bake a cake? Because you don't want me to bake one.
We'll have to do virtual cake.
A bit of a bake-off. Don't want me to bake a cake. No. Pie week. Pie week bake-off. So I'm going to have some pies in, because whatever they're making, I need that in.
You need to eat, not bake. I love that.
What I'm good at. I just hope that Kate's not watching, because we've challenged each other to
say, that doesn't fit in with your hashtag chubby challenge.
It doesn't fit about that chubby challenge. But we're thinking that we might get it trending.
Yeah, I like it.
I don't even know what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, working together. Social media strategy. And what are you looking at when you're looking at my social? Because you're my second pair of eyes, and you're my loser. You're my sanity to kind of benchmark where it is, because I can sometimes just go, yeah. So what are you looking at when you're looking at my social media with your subjective but objective eyes?
Yeah, I think the key thing that I do is put things into context for you. So you can look at the stats, and it might be from one post on its own, or it might be, you know, the general trends that week or whatever it is, but it's putting that into context in terms of what's going on generally, you know, whether it's affecting other Facebook pages or, you know, or whatever platform, how it fits into that, and also kind of putting it into context of your overall strategy. So like with the report I've written up for you today, being able to point out to you that yes, organic reach has dropped, but engagement's up massively. So that's a positive. So actually, if we had a knee-jerk reaction to the reach issue, that could cause engagement to drop off, which is the thing that we absolutely don't want to lose, because that, you know, that's the golden stuff, really. So I think that's where I hope that it really helps, being able to look at it with the outside eyes, but putting it into that context for you, if that makes any sense.
So when you are, you know, taking that kind of view, what are your sort of main markers? Are you looking content type? Are you looking reach, engagement, all of them things? What are you looking at?
So what I can do first of all is put things into categories. So Facebook is very nice in that when we take the data out of it, it will tell us a post type, which is the obvious thing. So, you know, we can look at whether photos get better reach than text only posts and those kind of things, or, you know, which gets better engagement, video or photo. But we kind of, with your Facebook page, go a step further and start to actually look at the content of those posts. And I think that's probably where we get the most insight from, would you say?
Yeah.
You know, because with photos, that is so broad. Within that, on your page, you've got memes, you've got behind the scenes type stuff, you've got photos that go with your mini blogs, which, so actually the photo's not the, you know, the kind of focal point of the post, it's the text that goes with it. You know, you've got all different types of content within that photo category. So we break that down and actually put it into a category and understand, you know, with videos, do video tips do better than video blogs, or long
videos, short videos, live videos, recorded videos?
So I suppose it's all these little comparisons that we do, and we're looking for trends. And then because we do it month in, month out, when I write this up for you, I compare it to the previous months as well. Or if I've got a question about something, so for example today with the engagement, I wanted to know whether it was just a one-off this month that the engagement had spiked, and so in which case it doesn't always mean very much, or whether actually we're seeing it, you know, a kind of upward curve. So I went back and looked at the stats from previous months. So with it being a regular thing as well, the more you do it, the more you can gain out of it.
Yeah, the more you do it, the easier it is for you, but also the more informative it is for me.
The first time you do it, like if you try and if you do a really deep dive into your Facebook insights, the first time you do it, it's going to be difficult because you're not going to know what's what, how things fit in, what's normal for your page. You might have a general sense from kind of keeping an eye on things, but yeah, when you kind of get into that rhythm of doing it month in, month out, it does become easier because you'll know, well, you know, that's normal, or that's a big change from last month, or, you know, that's new, that type of content is doing much better this month. I wonder why that might be. And you can start to ask those questions. Yeah.
Do you think that there's any hard and fast rules when it comes to your social generally? You know, I know that people have always bandied them about, and lots of people are like, well, I don't know whether to believe that, not to believe it, what to think. You know, video's king, this is that, that's the other, do this, do that, do the other, do it standing on your head. And in a big way.
Yeah. What I always say is don't exclude anything, particularly when it comes to the type of content that you're sharing. So video, photo, links, text-only posts. Don't exclude anything from the mix, because people like to consume information in different ways. So like, I'm not a big video watcher because I'll either get distracted or my attention span will go, or I'm busy doing something else, but I do like reading things.
Don't all disappear now just because she wouldn't watch you back.
I have been watching today though. So I do dip in and out of video, but if somebody only shared video, I would lose all track of what they were sharing and what they were talking about, and I wouldn't consistently follow them because that's all they were. And likewise, you might be in the mood for watching videos one day, and another day you're not in a place where you can watch videos. So I always say include a good mix of content, present the same message but in different ways. If you've talked about something in a video, then look at whether you could write that up into a blog post, or whether you could share that in kind of a mini blog on your Facebook page or whatever it might be. Not just because you'll get more out of the content, but because more people will get to see it and it reinforces the message. Overall, you're going to get more eyes on it. So I think, and then it comes down to tweaking that balance of different types of content for your crowd, which is what you'll learn over time if you start paying attention to things like the stats. And you can tweak that balance. So yeah, you might do more video than anything else, but you've got other stuff within the mix as well. Yeah, on a day like today. And that's very individual, and I don't think anybody can turn around and say, well, you should be posting 5 videos and 2 photos, and you should post at these times, and without knowing your crowd and what goes on your page. And there's so many different factors. So I'm not a fan of hard and fast rules.
Yeah. And if you're starting out, and you're starting to think about what you're going to post and how often you're going to post, what would you say to people about kind of starting that level of consistency, that level of traction, that bringing it together?
I'd say start out at least doing something every day, and then build on it from there. So the important thing is that you start out at a pace that you can. Hello. I forgot what I was saying now. We have an impromptu Rockstar TV episode.
Oh, Rockstar TV. So I've got nothing to say today. But you just pop in and out because it's back from school and Mummy's got lots of things to do today. So you're going to say, hello, Rockstars. Hi, Becky.
Hi, Becky.
Hello. Good girl. You're going to have your bath then. I'll speak to you soon. Yeah. Love you. Yeah, I think I've got lipstick on. So yes, look at starting. It's about
starting at a pace that you can do consistently. So if you go in all guns blazing and say I'm going to post 5 times a day on my Facebook page, and you're starting right at that beginning point, it's going to be difficult to maintain that. So start. You do need to show up consistently, but start once a day maybe, and then build into it, because it gives you that time and space as well to actually think about what you're posting and your strategy overall. If you set off with this big target of 5 times a day, what you're going to find yourself doing is scrambling around trying to find, what can I post, what can I fill the gap, and you end up straight into that. Stick it on out there. And then even if things, some things work, some things don't work, but you've no idea what is working, and it just becomes a bit of a hot mess. So start small, and there's it's much better to post once a day consistently and have really understand what you put thought into what you're posting, and pay attention to how it's is it getting reach, is it getting engagement, how are people responding, and then add to it gradually, and let the content kind of lead you. So kind of look at what content's missing and add that in, rather than just thinking I need to add an extra post. It might be, right, I need to add some behind the scenes stuff into this. And kind of being led by the content that way.
I think the big thing there is don't set yourself up to fail.
Don't
put yourself this kind of big rule that you've got to do so much, and then at the first hurdle, you're just going to be like, I can't manage it. It's just not going to happen. It's just not there. And the other thing that I wanted just to get back to there was, you saying that try them different formats. And I just want to say that it's okay to share the same thing in a different format.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, I'm trying a new format, I'm going to share a text post, so I'm going to write a new text post. The text post can come from the video, can't it? And
in fact, it's more than okay, because people need to hear something more than once for it actually to sink in. So I can watch you talk about something on a video, and I can connect with it and think that's great, and be really interested and involved, and then go off and do something else and forget all about it. But if then, a couple of days later, I see a text post that relates to that and maybe picks one thing out of it and explores it again with me, it's going to reinforce that. And you can kind of build it up over time. So you don't constantly have to be thinking of new things to say. And it's not the lazy option. It's actually helping your crowd more, because you're helping that message to sink in and for them to learn more from you and for you to serve them more. And I know it can feel a bit like, well, it's going to get repetitive and people can be bored, but actually that's not the case.
Yeah. And people take different things from what you're saying at different times, don't they, as well?
Yeah, so absolutely. And you can see it again, you know, it might be a few months later and you can think, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. You know, you've got kind of sayings and mantras that you bring up consistently. Yeah. But, you know, some of those I know I use kind of daily in my business, but I'm not aware of it. But you might just pop up in my feed saying something. I think there was one today or a couple of days ago about like being the ripple. I think it was today, wasn't it? With like the Monday mantra.
Mantra this morning.
And you know, I've heard you talk about that many times before, but still it made me stop and think, you know, yeah, that's a good reminder for this week, and that's really important to my business. And I never for 1 second thought, oh, she's going on about that again. It's so yeah, and I think that helps people kind of get to know you and your message as well. Because if you're all over the place sharing bits of everything, it's difficult to bring it together and get that kind of overall message, if that makes sense.
So what are you thinking about with your own social media as you bring that together? Mainly what we've kind of talked about. So I try my best to approach it in the same way that I would if I was working with a client, which is, it can be challenging because there's always this thing of prioritizing client work. And, you know, I've had that in the past where I've let my social media fall away and not be at its best. And yeah, when we first started working together, because I was so focused on client work, but now I'm very conscious of making sure I approach it in the same way that I would any other social media. Do you do a monthly report on your own platforms?
I don't write up a report, but I do track all the stats in quite a lot of detail. So I've got a spreadsheet. I probably should write something up actually, because it would give me that thing to check back with, an action point. So yeah, to be honest, I probably should do more than I do, but I do break the stats down in the same way that I do for clients as well.
And probably having that action plan would be a great reference point for you to go back to as you grow, wouldn't it? And see, because I like going back to the old ones that you've done for me.
Yeah, I think
did I action that? Do I need to action that again? Is that something I need to think about again?
I think that's a really good idea. Because yeah, you're kind of always looking to move on to that next thing, and sometimes we forget about the stuff we've done in the past that actually worked really well. So it is kind of good to have that record of what's gone before.
And even just those clickable links like you do within that report that take you directly to that post, that you can then go look at and go, I've got another idea to do something like that, or whatever it might be. You know, I think it's worth its weight in gold, absolutely.
Yeah.
Would anybody like to ask us anything? Because we are chattering away and we'll continue to chatter. But if you do want to ask any questions at all, anything at all that's coming up for you, then please do jump in, ask the question. There's no such thing as a silly question. And we can go through anything that's coming up for anyone particularly, anything that they're thinking about. So, good idea or bad idea to spend all day long here on live?
I think it's a great idea, but I don't know how you've done it.
Mental. Who's going to win the chubby challenge? Asks Kate.
I could not possibly comment. No, I will be watching. I like the idea of watching both your Facebook lives, and we'll see what happens with your big unveiling idea at your event. Yeah.
I'll just disappear. You won't be able to see me. It'll be a voice. Karen said, should I add products to a Facebook shop?
Yeah.
Totes, because I think a lot of people are now buying directly from platform, aren't they?
Yeah.
Go on, you go first.
Yeah, I think that might become an even bigger thing in kind of 2018. I think we're just seeing the early
reviews.
Yeah, because it's still a new development, really, that you're able to buy on platform, and I'm sure that Facebook will be putting a lot of priority on that, because they want people to stay on Facebook. The minute you go off somewhere else, they've lost you. They want to get people to spend.
None of the other platforms are developing that at the moment, are they?
So yeah, I think it's going to be big, and even at the moment, and it's worth doing anyway, because it's, you know, it's an extra place to show your products. It's an extra chance of people seeing them and buying. You can tag them in your posts. I just think it's worth doing. It's easy to set up. Go for it.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing, and this comes back round to it, is, you know, it was a big thing that I went through a couple of months ago when I started doing these mini blogs, is what's the purpose of them making the click? So if you want to send them externally, why are you seeking to send them externally? Because anything with an external link is going to hit you on a reach perspective for most pages. And then, you know, so why are you doing it? What is the purpose of you sending them to somewhere else? Do you need them to be there? Or can you do that on platform?
Yeah, I think that's really important. And again, using more than one post to, you know, help you achieve your purpose. You don't have to get the job done just in one. So if need to share it as a link, and then you can also share it with the, you know, tagging the product in your shop, or you can kind of talk about it but tell people to go over to your website. You know, think a bit creatively about how you can share stuff like that in different ways. But yeah, it is important to be clear on that purpose. But yeah, that's what I'd add to it. Think about, can you share that same message in different ways to help people eventually reach that place where you want them to be.
And, you know, this is one that often shocks quite a lot of people. You can read your blog out as a video.
Yeah.
You can copy and paste your blog and use it as a Facebook post, with or without an image. You can put the same products into your shop as you've got sat on your website. You know, that it's circular, I think, now. And I think, you know, yes, it's great to have a website, and it's great to have a home base, and no, you don't own your social media, so having that home base is really, really important. But also, you can take the same things into social that are on your website. Yeah,
absolutely. And it just goes back to kind of what we've been talking about with serving your crowd by helping them see the stuff that you've got to offer, not hiding it away. And having a consistent message, so that what you're putting on your Facebook page marries up with what's on the website. It feels like the same business. So whether they buy from you on Facebook or they buy from you on the website, they're going to get the same opportunities, the same experience, and making it coherent that way. Because I do sometimes see that social media's sat off on its own and completely separate to everything else that business is doing. So it's important that it's all part of a whole.
Integrated. So, does anybody else want to ask us anything else? Anything at all? What would be your kind of big takeaways for people who are, you know, quite angsty about social media? Because it's a big, you know, it's one of those big things, isn't it? That it can cause, you know, lots of and I can't seem to get it right, or, you know, it doesn't feel quite right. What would be kind of your big takeaway points on that?
I think the first thing would be to be patient with kind of the process, but also with yourself, that you don't need to have it all together and be doing what everybody else seems to be doing from day one. Or, you know, if you're on day 1,000, you still don't need to be doing everything, because I think that's where a lot of the angst comes from, that I'm not doing video yet. So, or, you know, whatever it might be. So break that down and think about how you can actually implement stuff and take action on social media. So, you know, I say to a lot of people when I'm working with them one-to-one, just practice doing video before you feel like you have to go and do a Facebook Live rather than not doing anything at all. So yeah, I think the big thing, be patient, don't compare yourself to what other people are doing on social media, and don't be afraid to stop and take stock. If you feel completely angsty about it and it's just doing your head in and you don't know where to go with it, just stop and spend some time reflecting on what's gone before. What have you done in the past that seems to have worked well? What's not worked so well? Spend that time kind of thinking about it. Go back to thinking about what your customers actually want, what you need to be talking to them about. Take it all back to those basics and come up with a bit of a strategy for yourself, and kind of get your head in a better space to do it, before you then start trying to get content out there again. So there's nothing wrong with taking that step back to do that, rather than trying to keep pushing through, because you'll just keep putting stuff out there to fill the silence and it'll still not feel right, and it'll just go on and on and on,
and you'll be consumed by creating that content that isn't working rather than reflecting and bringing together some content that would work.
You need to kind of give yourself that space to let the right content come through. And if that means that you need to go back to the very basic questions about who your crowd are, who are your customers and what do they want, that's absolutely fine. Take that time to go back and to ask those questions, even if you think you might know the answers, because that's where your content should be coming from. And when you start working around those kind of questions, you'll come up with stacks of content out of that, and it'll get you back on the right track.
Yeah, don't be afraid to take a step back, I think, is a big one. And I think that's really, really important, because that's where you see the bigger picture and that's where you see the overall picture. And, if you need somebody else to come in and look at that content too, that's also okay. It doesn't mean, that I'm a big fail insofar as social media is concerned because you look at my content. You look at my content as an addition rather than an instead of. So we're looking at it together. We're looking at it, how it works. We're looking at how it comes together. And you're you're taking that personal charge away, looking at trends, looking at what's happening, looking at when I'm going, and I do that, I do have a good old whinge every now and again, and I probably have used a lot of sweary words in messages when I've been a little bit angsty and frustrated about it, because I do put a lot into it and I do want it to help and support and serve as many people as I possibly can. And, it's not a numbers game, and it's not about who's got the most or who's getting the biggest, or it's about, like you say, we've had an ongoing trend of percent on percent increases in engagement. And actually, at the end of the day, I would much rather that than the reach.
And that actually means more for the fact that his reach is declining for everybody. But if you're not only increasing engagement, but increasing it with less people seeing it, if that makes sense, then that's an even bigger
percentage of people. If you looked at the percentage of people seeing it to engagement, that would then again be exponentially bigger, wouldn't it? But I don't think that, I know lots of people do the whole, it's dead, Facebook reach is dead. And I know that you shared something recently that had just gone mental. And, some posts do just come out of nowhere and go absolutely mental. And it's about learning what you can learn from those posts, isn't it? And looking at them and saying, right, what was it about that?
Yeah, that's so important, because you will tend to see that those exceptional posts are one-offs. You will have kind of a baseline of this is what your reach is like. And so that post in particular that you mentioned, it reached in the end almost 1.6 million people. And it gained a lot of traction over a couple of weeks. A really simple post, totally organically. But generally, the rest of the posts on the page are around the 1,000 to 4,000 mark. So, more than a fraction of 1.6 million. So equally, you could end up disheartened if you think, oh, I thought I'd cracked it. And then, you might try and replicate it and then it doesn't work in the same way. So, it's about just taking what you can learn from it and then keeping going with that process and being patient with it and looking for more of a gradual thing, and knowing that something can work once. Yeah, something can work once and then you do it again and it flops, or it doesn't have the same response. It's not getting disheartened with that either, because that's totally normal.
Yeah, and I think that as well, I think that one other thing that I would like to say is that, do you know what, sometimes the reach doesn't tell the truth.
Yeah.
Because I've got on my page before and it said that it's reached like 5 people and then 33,000 people have engaged in it, and it's like, yeah, that's disgusting. It's not right.
Oh, the sound's gone.
Oh, can you hear me?
Still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, you're back.
Oh, I'm back.
I just couldn't hear you for a minute. I don't know why.
Emma, what's your most liked or shared post? Do you know that?
I know some. I don't know overall because there's that many, but you've had some great ones where they've been like the behind the scenes type personal ones. I'm thinking of, did Maggie have a fairy house or garden?
Fairy garden. Yeah,
really well.
Yeah, and my washing machine did really well when they came back from Coupe camp and there was grass going around it.
Yeah, so the ones that stick in my mind actually are those kind of behind the scenes type ones.
What, we will do a little top countdown of the last year, what the best posts have been in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
We'll do that for you, Lisa. And we'll have a look at it.
Yeah.
Because that would be quite interesting, won't it?
Yeah. Because you get ones that are kind of designed to get engagement. So you've got competitions which you naturally expect to get engagement, and then you've got total outliers that you might have thought wouldn't get much at all, and then they just fly.
Well, what was the other day that I said, I needed? It was something really bizarre.
Shower gel.
They
got stacks of engagement. Yeah.
Sauce mint shower gel. That just went absolutely mental. And you just think,
yeah, what?
Yeah, but they're the ones, I often find that it's the ones that I think, I'll put that on, that'll be fun. They're the ones that do that.
Yeah, I think it just comes back to that's what social media is about, really. It's about capturing the moment. If you take business out of the equation and just think about what your friends and family share, it's often that, in the moment, silly stuff or, everyday stuff. And if we can bring an element of that into our social media strategy, it can really help. Yeah, relatable, exactly, Lisa.
Totally relatable, yeah. So we will do a little rundown of the best posts of the year, I reckon, seeing as though it's a year that we've been together, and I think that we should celebrate it with something. And I can't bake cake, so that's just not going to work. So there goes another hour. Poof.
And why was I nervous?
Why were you nervous? It was just to chat with me. Just pretend them lot are not there.
Well, I can enjoy your chat with Trudy now because I'm not thinking about, it's me later.
Well, next is Emma Johnson.
Oh, is it?
Next is Emma Johnson.
So you've got 2 more to do?
Yeah. And then that'll be 10 hours of live streaming, I think, or 9 hours. Ridiculous.
I wonder what the record is.
Oh, people have probably gone right round the clock.
Probably.
Yeah, there's probably some of us that have gone right round the clock. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. It's been lovely to have you here. And I am going to finish it like I've finished all the others. I'm going to go for a wee. I'm going to fill up my cup and I'll be back shortly. So thank you for joining us, Beckie. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.